Back on take 3, and let's understand and try and get a sense or a grip of what lies in store for us given what's happened. And it all happened in a matter of days and a matter of hours. The full takhta palat in Bangladesh, and Sheikh Hasina has said she's not coming back. Her family has said, we're done with Bangladesh, we're not coming back. Frankly, till date, no other nation has said, Sheikh Hasina, you can come and stay here. She's still a guest in India because we don't know what her plans are. That's what the MEA so far has said. Zakir Jacob and Rahul Shivshankar, one by one, your thoughts on how things have happened and what's happened. Is it a West orchestration, as many believe?
I don't know that, but it's happened at breakneck speed. I was just thinking about this, when we did Take 3 last week, if somebody said Sheikh Hasina is going to be out of power in Bangladesh by the time you guys do your next show, I would have said, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I mean, she's the longest serving woman premier. She's served more than Margaret Thatcher and Indira Gandhi. And in a matter of 24 hours, I think, she was out of the country. I mean, taking a chopper, then a C-130, and now, of course, in a safe place here in Delhi. Obviously, hugely seminal for Bangladesh. For India, we have to watch with great degree of caution what form or shape the next government there takes. Of course, there is now an interim arrangement with Professor Yunus, but whether it's the BNP, whether it's the Jamaat, I think for India, it's going to be a period of trying to sort of bide time and try and make some kind of inroads, connections into whatever the new regime is. You're not going to get the kind of 15 years that you had with Sheikh Hasina and with the Awami League in terms of protecting India's interests in Bangladesh. I think that era is over. We need to.
Whether is it the Awami League that comes back after a few months sans Sheikh Hasina, we'll have to wait and watch. But what's your take? Is there a greater game at play geopolitically?
Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature, but I am beginning to wonder if this whole talk of regime change sponsored by the hidden foreign hand is not actually a figment of the imagination. I have a feeling that large number of, just look at our area, the subcontinent. You've had regime change motivated in Afghanistan. You've had regime change in Nepal. You've had regime change by all accounts in Sri Lanka with Chinese influence. You look at the Maldives, you look at Pakistan. Where else can there be regime change? There can be regime change in India. And there are these sort of people who talk about Soros and meetings and clandestine associations between certain political parties and other, inimitable political parties and this, that, the other.
Not sounding like a conspiracy theorist at all.
Not at all. And as I said, I'm beginning to tap into this, and I'm wondering if there is some truth to all of these ruminations, let's put them, or speculations. And fundamentally, look at the way certain elections and their outcomes have been influenced in the West because of social media, because of people using social media as a weapon. So you weaponize social media to seed a particular kind of argument, and we saw that in our own 2024 elections with a particular viral tape going out, which was an AI manufactured clip of a top politician, Amit Shah, which led to a large number of people buying into this theory that the government wants 400 to scrap a particular quota. And that's a widely held view as to why perhaps the BJP lost some seats in the Hindi belt, which had it won, it would have been back with a bang.
But in this case, if you also look at it dispassionately, I'm not trying to fuel the conspiracy. I'm very convinced that there is a greater hand which is diffusing certain key areas, markets, because there are two hegemonistic powers and we have to accept. One is the China aspect and the other adversary is the US-led West. And you name these areas very clearly. Look at Bharat itself. The CAA fights, the farm laws, Manipur. It's all happening across the regions, and then trying to seed this entire issue of dissent within the ranks with Agniveer. There are issues where you're trying to see what will catch. Is there a tinderbox? Is there a situation on ground?
Who is fomenting this?
I'm not, what I'm trying to say is...
Are you saying the Americans are fomenting this?
I'm just saying that there has been, and this is happening at, let me just complete, and this is happening at a time when? At a time...
Hey, don't stick your neck out too far, you've got a cleaver in your hand.
No, I don't have anything, I just have my phone.
I'm just asking.
I'm just asking,
I'm just saying, think about it.
So that I'm clear. Like,
no, I'm just saying, think about it.
What is the conspiracy theory here?
I'm just saying, think
the
about
Yanks are doing it, or the...
No, I'm not even saying who's doing it. I'm not saying who's doing it. I'm just saying all this happens around a time when we as a nation decide that we want to exercise a certain level of strategic autonomy geopolitically. We want to take calls which are not palatable to either side of the hegemonistic forces currently on board. We are also saying that we want to be an alternative to one hegemony, while trying to tell the other hegemony that we are not going to be totally dependent on you. We'll be friends with you, but we'll decide who our friends are and going and meeting. So there are a lot of aspects, and then most importantly, we are saying we want to be another economic hub. We want to become the story for the global South. When you see all of this happening, there can be entities and powers who turn around and say, listen, for control here, to diffuse here, and this is history repeating itself, because you saw it in the 70s with the 1971, before that when partition happened, and it's happened. So I'm somewhere convinced.
Regime change has happened. I mean, look, we've been democracies for the last 150 years. And even then, we've had regime changes across the board,
and this
from
has
Latin
happened in South America,
Africa
and everywhere.
you know, South America, Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened in Ukraine, for instance, before Zelensky came in. But fundamentally, look, I was reading a couple of who described themselves as the left liberal persuasion in our country, where very blithely, it was warning sign to would-be dictators that, look, guys, you know, you can't push the envelope that far because the people are going to rise up and the pitchforks are going to be out. There was a lot of that.
I mean, this is the same country that rose up against Mrs. Gandhi.
Yeah.
So why are you discounting the fact that democratically the people can and do and have often in the history of this country change the regime very peacefully?
We're not talking about our country, we're talking about Bangladesh in that context.
Again, I want to just underline one fact.
It has been coup after coup for years
altogether. The point
altogether.
is, why are we discounting the fact that Sheikh Hasina was deeply unpopular?
I'm not.
To actually look at all those pictures of people, I don't agree with the slapping Bangabandhu statue or pissing on top of the statue. I don't agree with that.
No, look at what Mahatma Gandhi did.
But to say that those people are not happy, they're not celebrating the exit of a very unpopular leader.
You're misrepresenting
what I'm saying. It has been brewing for a while, exactly.
Can I say something?
For a while.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
Look, what was the beauty of Mahatma Gandhi? There was resentment against the British. We saw that exploding in the First War of Independence in 1857. The beauty is that he brought all the moving parts together, gave it thrust and direction, and there we had a full-fledged nationalist movement. So there were, of course, seeds of discord in that society. There were people, but to only focus on that angle worries me, because it talks about a certain naivety. Yes, there was a lot of discomfort, like there is in China, for instance, like there is in other regimes, even in Russia. But there's a lighter fuel, that needs to be thrown. Who provided that lighter fuel? And that's the question where
and not just that,
I think
what
people
interest?
are not.
In what interest? Is it in the interest of democracy, or is it in the interest of putting a person or a puppet or a particular regime which will act at the behest of one or the two controlling forces? That's my concern. In Bangladesh, what's happening, Sheikh Hasina was not popular. Mujibur Rahman also, her father, also after the Bangladesh independence, he didn't become very popular because he also was...
look at the way the Americans treated Indians.
My point is very simple. The issue is that Sheikh Hasina was great for India. I'm not denying that at all. And I said at the start of this segment that India is not going to get a leader in Bangladesh the way Sheikh Hasina protected Indian interests. That is my position on it. But to say that just because she was good for India does not mean that she was extremely popular in Bangladesh. There were a large number of people who resented her.
Also,
absolutely.
Why didn't we read the signs as a nation is another part.
That's a fair
question. one part. And see, it's all flux around us in the region, and we are supposed to be the big brother in this region. Are we really the big brother, and are we really prepared for something like that? Because if it can happen anywhere else, why can't it happen in our own backyard?
So in political theory, there's a term called preference falsification.
Yeah.
It's quite well known now. It is that people will continue to say we are happy with X and Y till one fine day they're not.
They're not.
Yeah.
And all these surveys that are conducted, etc., suddenly are proven very wrong. It happened in 2024. You could argue, with a caveat or two, that look, people thought Mr. Modi was going to come with 400 or maybe more, and then fell short of majority. No one saw it. It's happened a few times in our, it happened in 77 when Indira Gandhi decided to hold elections because everyone told her from Siddharth Shankar Ray downwards that you are winning, madam.
Yeah, exactly.
And where did she end up?
Yeah.
So preference falsification, people not exactly telling you how they feel, but I think a bunch of students getting together, clearly organized by someone. Now, who that person is, who those set of people are, What is their motivation? I think we need to look a little
The student
closer.
template is the same as in Sri Lanka. The student template is the same that happened with the PKM movement in PTM movement in Pakistan. The student sentiment is the same.
So,
See,
in the
there's
case of-
somewhere it's not that they suddenly mobilize.
In the case
no.
of Sri Lanka, if I may just add, if you have the time, you know, the students and the toppling of the Rajapakshas strategically was actually good for India. With
That's
Ranil
true.
coming back
It
and
did
all
help
of that.
us, yeah.
The unfortunate part is that now you're going to have presidential elections and Namal has
Namal has got filed.
for it. I don't know if he will win. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I don't know. I've not followed the polls in Sri Lanka. But the Rajapaksa, the argument was the Rajapakshas were the stooges of the Chinese, right? So if the Rajapakshas went out, obviously strategically it's been good for India. The same thing in the case of Hasina. I mean, what I don't understand in this whole, the CIA hand, you know, got her down, is simply this, that if the CIA hand got her down, then by corollary, the next regime has to be close to China, right? That's the logical corollary of it. If the next regime is closer to China, then this whole thing was counterproductive.
Whether there is the next regime closer to China, whether the next regime is closer to the West, we have to wait and watch, because Sheikh Hasina had a lot of dealings with the Chinese also, and she'd signed 12 agreements, she'd gone to
I
Beijing,
think people
etc.
in power are quite pragmatic at the end of the day.
But
They
the
know
point
exactly
is,
which side their bread
do
is
we
buttered.
really have a leader who's going to come there, or is it going to be a situation where this region remains in a flux and there is only economic distress? See, the larger game geopolitically, I believe, is not just power, it's also about who has the economic
And what
heft.
are you going to say to
Is that
those?
the
I'm
economic
just going to
heft?
take a bit of
Well,
a dig. Allow me 30 seconds. What are you going to say to those who said Bangladesh is on the way up and they're going to overtake India very soon? Look at Bangladesh.
Well, to each their own. We're going to wind up. It's their take, but here on Take 3, we believe these are interesting times ahead, ladies and gentlemen. We as a nation have to be very, very cautious. Very, very cautious. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you, gents.